Hello everybody. Today we will learn how to calculate the weighted average cost of capital. As you can see from the formula, what we are doing is taking the proportions of the different sources of funds and we are multiplying it by its corresponding cost. So in this formula, I have taken 4 different sources of funds: equity, debt, preference and retained earnings. And what am I doing? I am taking the proportion of equity multiplying by its cost, proportion of debt and multiplying by its cost, proportion of the preference share multiplying by its cost, and proportion of retained earnings and multiplying by its cost. One thing you must keep in mind is that for debt, we are going to calculate what is known as a post-tax cost. Let us have a look at the formula for calculating cost of debt and cost of preference. They are identical. In case of cost of debt, the pre-tax cost of debt, what we take in the numerator is the annual interest in rupees. Please do not make the mistake of putting in the interest rate and percentage out here. So it's interest in rupees. Then we take the difference between the face value and the current market price and divide it by n. N is the number of years left to maturity. Face value is also occasionally mentioned as maturity value. And in the denominator, we are taking 60% of the current market price plus 40% of the face value of the instrument. So with this formula, you can calculate the pre-tax cost of debt. And for calculating the post-tax, just multiply it by 1 minus tax rate. I will explain shortly why we do this. But before that, have a look at the cost of preference shares. Can you see it's the identical formula? So it's the annual dividend that you pay. This is a fixed rate of interest which you are given. Then you take face value minus current market price and divide it by number of years left to maturity. And in the denominator, it is 60% of the current market price plus 40% of the face value. So this is going to give you the cost of preference shares. Let us see why we need to multiply by 1 minus tax rate in case of calculating the cost of debt. Have a look at this. We have profit before interest and tax. We know that from here we can deduct interest because it is a tax deductible expense. That leaves us with profit before tax. So if I remove the tax component, then I am left with profit after tax. From here we pay preference dividends, and what is left after paying preference dividend is known as earnings. From here we give out dividends and the balance that is left is known as retained earnings. Let us have a look at two firms. One is a levered firm and one is a unlevered firm. Levered firm means it has debt in its capital structure. That means it has borrowed from somewhere. Unlevered firm means that there is no borrowing in that firm. Assume both of them have the same PBIT. But because the levered firm has borrowings, it has to pay off an interest. So this 400 that I have put out here, it has come from the assumption that there is a loan amount of rupees 3,333 carrying an interest rate of 12%. An interest rate of 12% works out to 399.96, which we have rounded off to 400. So that is how I have written this 400 out here. After paying off this interest, our profit before tax is 500. And if I have to pay tax at the rate of 40%, it means that 200 is going to be paid as tax and 300 is left as profit after tax. Look at the second form. PBIT is 900, but there is no interest to be paid. So therefore your PBT is same, 900. From here you are going to pay off tax at 40%, that is 360, and the balance that is left is 540. Can you see the difference of tax that you have to pay? Because you have debt in your capital structure, you are paying 200 as tax, and the other firm is paying 360, which means that you are having a tax savings of 160. Now, although you pay out interest of 400, you have a tax savings of 160. So effectively your outflow is 240. Now again have a look. If 12% was the interest rate and I am multiplying it by 1 minus tax rate, it works out to 7.2%. And 7.2% of the loan amount is 239.98, which is rounded off to 240. So this 240 and the one which I have shown you earlier is the same amount. That is why while calculating cost of debt, we multiply it by 1 minus T. So here we have understood how to calculate cost of debt and cost of preference. Let us go ahead. We will now try to understand how to calculate the cost of equity. There are 4 different formulas for calculating cost of equity. The first one is the capital asset pricing model, where we say RE, that is the cost of equity, is equal to RF, that is the risk-free rate of return, plus beta of that security multiplied by E expected, that is ERM minus RF. This should be multiplied, not plus. So RF is the risk-free rate of return. Suppose it is 7%. Beta is the risk associated with the security. Beta can have values from 0 to up to 2. So anything that is less than 1, having a beta of less than 1, is a non-risky security, and anything that has a beta greater than 1 is supposed to be a risky security. So here we have considered beta to be 1.2. Expected return from the market portfolio, that is I have put in as 12%. So this you will understand that if you would have invested in the stock market, what is the return that you would get? So that will be an indicator of expected return on market portfolio. And I am subtracting again this risk-free rate of return out here. So this expected return on market portfolio minus the risk-free rate of return is referred to as market risk premium. So effectively what we are doing is that we have taken the risk-free rate of return, and to that I am adding a component, and this component is what? Beta multiplied by the market risk premium. Obviously when beta is high, this second portion is going to become a larger number, all right, and therefore accordingly the cost of equity will also go up. I have taken an example out here where I have taken risk-free return as 7%. By the way, this risk-free rate of return is anything that you would earn by investing in government bonds or by putting your money in the bank, where practically there is no risk. Okay, so that I have put it as 7%. Beta I have taken as 1.2, and my market risk premium is 5%. How did I get 5? This 12 minus 7%. So when I work it out, my cost of equity comes to be 13%. So this is one way of calculating the cost of equity. The second one is very simple. We are saying cost of equity is equal to yield on long-term bonds plus a risk premium. So if B percentage is the yield on long-term bonds, add a percentage for risk premium, and this risk premium will depend on what kind of project it is. Alright, so this will vary. Now suppose we say that yield on long-term bonds is 7%. And I am investing in a project where I would like to add another additional risk premium of 4%. So in this case, my cost of equity is going to be 11%. Now let us move to the formula number 3 and 4. Third is dividend growth model approach. So this says that cost of equity is D1 by P0 plus G. D1 is the dividend per share that is expected next year. P0 is the current market price of the share. And this G is the expected growth rate of dividend. So if I know what is going to be the dividend next year, if I know what is the current market price of the share, and I know what is the growth rate of the dividend, I can calculate the cost of equity. Should you not have D1, you can always calculate it by this formula. D0, that is the present dividend, and you multiply it by 1 plus G. So that will give you D1. Let's see how it looks like. If your dividend D1 is going to be 25 next year, 25 rupees next year, and the current market price of the share is 200, all right? So 25 divided by 200, then you say plus 0.05. 0.05 is the growth rate. Then your cost of equity works out to 17.5%. The fourth formula is earnings price ratio. So this is also again simple. It says that earnings price ratio is E1 by P0. Very simple. So E1 is what? The earnings per share expected next year. P0 is the current market price per share. And again, if you do not have E1, you can always use the current earnings per share, multiply it by 1 plus G, that is the growth rate associated with earnings, and divide it by P0. So suppose the earnings per share next year is going to be 35 rupees. Current market price is 200. So 35 by 200 works out to 17.5%. As you can see that there are 4 formulas. Depending on the kind of data that you have, you can use any one of these to calculate your cost of equity. Then finally, cost of retained earnings. Retained earnings is the amount that is left within the company because you did not pay off dividends to the shareholders. So this retained earnings actually should have gone to the shareholders, and if you would have given it to them, they would have used that money to invest it somewhere else and earn a higher return. So retained earnings cost, we don't say cost of retained earnings is 0. It can't be that. But effectively we are saying cost of retained earnings is equal to cost of equity. Then the last formula is for calculating cost of term loans. Term loan, what we will do is take the interest rate that is associated with the term loan and just multiply it by 1 minus tax rate. So we have now understood how to calculate cost of debt, both pre-tax and post-tax. We have learned how to calculate cost of preference shares. We have understood that there are 4 different formulas for calculating cost of equity. Then we know how to calculate cost of retained earnings, and we also know how to calculate cost of term loans. So from the WACC formula, we have done only one part, that is calculating the cost. We now have to understand how the proportions are calculated. Before that, I will just share two examples with you regarding this cost of debt and cost of preference shares. So for example, if you have bonds that were issued 5 years ago and the total life of the bond is 15 years and it carries an interest of 14%, has a face value of 200, current market price is 250 and tax rate is 35%. So here n is number of years left to maturity. So 15 years is the life, but 5 years have already gone off. So n is equal to 10. Interest, remember we need the amount. 14% of 200 is 28. F, the face value or maturity value is 200. Current market price is 250 and this is the tax rate. So if I put it in the formula, as you can see, first I will get the answer to pre-tax cost of the bond and it works out to 10%, 0.1. Na? But I want the post-tax cost. So the pre-tax has to be multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. Alright, and then I find that post-tax cost of the bond is 6.5%. Now let's have a look at the preference share. This preference share was issued 4 years ago and it has a life of 10 years. It carries an interest of 9%. Fixed dividends, no? Face value is 300, current market price is 250. So here n, that is number of years left to maturity, is 6. Interest is 27. 27, how did we get that? It is 9% of 300. Face value is 300, current market price is 250. So this is the data. And if you plot it in the formula, your answer works out to 13.1%. Now let us move to proportions. You have two methods, two options to calculate proportions. One is the book value of the instrument and second is the market value of the instrument. What we need to do is first understand what is the capital structure. So here we see that we have equity, preference, debentures and term loans. And these are the book values. Alright. So these book values total up to 450. You can also calculate the market value. So the market value of equity, for example, I have taken it is 450. Preference it is 42.5. Debentures it is 108. And term loan it is going to remain same because remember bank borrowings do not have market value as they are not traded in the market. So now when you take the market values of the capital structure, you have a different figure, 680.5. You can calculate proportions using both the book value and the market value. So how did I calculate this book value proportion? For equity, I will take 200 and I divide it by the total 450. That will give me 0.44. For preference, take this 50 divided by 450. I will get 0.11. So in this manner, I can calculate the book value proportions. Similarly, I can do for market value. So for equity, market value is 450. What is the total? It is 680.5. So if I divide 450 by 680.5, I get the answer 0.66. Similarly, suppose 80. 80 divided by 680.5 is going to become 0.12. So in this manner, we will calculate the market value proportions. Cost we will calculate as I have explained in the earlier part of the video. So what you have now with you is the cost and you have proportions. So you can take either one of these proportions and calculate your weighted average cost of capital. So for if you want to do by book value, you will have to multiply the proportion of book value by the cost. Alright, for each corresponding source, take the proportion, multiply it by the cost. Alright, so once this is done, just add it up. You get your weighted average cost of capital using book value proportions. Similarly, you can do for market value. So all you need to do is take market value proportion and multiply by the corresponding cost. Alright, for each of these items. And once that is done, add up all these figures and you will get your weighted average cost of capital. Obviously, both the answers are going to be different. Alright, and you are supposed to take the WACC as per market value proportions. Normally, when you are starting a project, you have what is known as a target capital structure, that this is how you would like your capital structure to be. And accordingly, you will have your proportions and the weights. So there is no question of having a book value or a market value. You have only one of them. Therefore, our now weighted average cost of capital is proportion of equity multiplied by cost of equity, proportion of debt multiplied by cost of debt. Remember, this is post-tax cost of debt, plus proportion of preference multiplied by cost of preference, and proportion of term loan multiplied by cost of term loan. Again, this term loan cost also has to be a post-tax cost. So with this, you can calculate your weighted average cost of capital. So this concludes our session on how to calculate the weighted average cost of capital. Thank you very much for tuning in.